because only the males have horns. Females are social in groups of up to 20, while males are more solitary. The orange antelope is the bongo. Both male and female bongos have horns that lean back so that they don't get caught while they run through the brush. Unfortunately, due to deforestation, bongos are critically endangered. You can help prevent deforestation by recycling both your paper and plastic products. The black and white birds to the left are saddle-billed storks. They do not tweet or squawk the way other birds do. Instead, they rattle their bills in order to communicate with each other. To the right, there is the okapi. They do have black and white stripes on their legs, but they are not related to the zebra. They are the only living relative of the giraffe. They have very similar skull structures, and they both have long prehensile tongues, which means that they use their tongues to grab their food. An okapi's tongue is so long that they're able to lick their own eyeball. To the left, there is a black rhinoceros. They can weigh up to 3,000 pounds, and they have a pointed upper lip that helps them grab their food. They are normally solitary, but they are known to gather near watering holes at night. Unfortunately, rhinos have been poached for their horns, which are made out of keratin. That is the same stuff that makes up our hair and fingernails. Due to poaching, at one point there were less than 5,000 black rhinos left in the world. But thanks to conservation efforts, their numbers have since doubled. We are heading to the Safi River, where the animals are aquatic, so they spend most or all of their time in and around the water. Keep a lookout for any bubbles, ripples, or dark spots that could indicate an animal below the surface. The gray and white birds to the right are pink-backed pelicans. They develop a pink spot on their back during the mating season. They can nest in colonies of 25 to 500 pairs. Both the male and female help to take care of the nest, as their eggs take about 30 days to hatch. In the river to the left is the Nile hippopotamus. It can be in groups of up to 100 that are called a bloat. They spend most of their time in the water. They are able to hold their breath for up to 8 minutes. And while they do know how to swim, it is much easier for them to sink down to the bottom of the river and walk along it. So sometimes they are hard to spot. Hippos have large teeth that grow to be 18 inches long. They will mostly use their teeth in self-defense, as they are extremely territorial, but they are herbivores, so they primarily eat grass. To the left is the Nile crocodile, which is the largest crocodilian species in Africa, reaching 16 feet long and 500 pounds. The Nile crocodile has a life force that is so strong that they are able to break the bones of their prey. They can eat up to half of their body weight in one meal, so they usually only eat about once a week. But sometimes when food is scarce, they can go up to a month without eating. They are opportunistic carnivores, so they do not hunt. They will eat whatever crosses their path as soon as it crosses their path, because they never know when their next meal will be.
That's a big tree. Right? I see another ball.
We are leaving the Safi River and heading out to the savannah. We know that we are changing ecosystems because the trees and plants are changing and thinning out to account for the different weather patterns in the different areas. The savanna has a long dry season that will last about 9 months. So it is a very fragile ecosystem that has a lot of migrating animals. Sometimes those animals will migrate behind trees where we can't see them, and sometimes they migrate to the middle of the road. The savanna will look the way that it does because of those migrating animals. So large elephants will knock over trees, grazers such as antelope will trim the grass, and tall giraffes will trim the trees.
Some zebras right now.
Yeah?
I love zebras.
You do? Well, hold on. Now, will you take a picture of the zebras for her?
To the right is the Hartman's Mountain Zebra. Each one has a unique stripe pattern, so no two are the same, kind of like human fingerprints. But all Hartman's Mountain Zebras have a white underbelly and wider stripes around their hind legs. A group of zebras is called a dazzle, and they usually consist of an adult male, a couple of adult female, and their offspring. But they have no problem mixing or mingling. If one dazzle encounters another, then they will form a larger group.
Those are cows.
To the left, those are Ankole cattle, also known as Watusi, named after the tribe that first domesticated them. Their horns can be 3 to 4 feet long each, and they have a honeycomb-like structure inside, which makes them lighter than they appear. Their horns have blood vessels that reach their very tip, and that will help the cattle to cool down during the hot summer. On the hill to the left, there is the sable antelope. Both males and females have horns, and they will use them to protect themselves from predators that try to jump on their back, sometimes dropping down to their knees to get a better angle. The sable antelope herd can have up to 100 members during the dry season, and they will be led by a dominant male. However, a dominant female will determine all of their migration patterns. That responsibility will get passed down to her daughter. To the left, that is a Maasai giraffe. They are distinguished by the jagged-like appearance of their spots. Giraffes do not drink water every day because to do so they have to spread their legs out in a very awkward position to get their heads all the way to the ground. So instead they will drink a lot of water at once and then go a couple days without it. A group of giraffes is called a tower because they tower over the savanna. Adults can be 13 to 20 feet tall. They will be almost 6 feet tall when they are born. On the top of the hill to the right, underneath that tree, there are small tan and white antelope laying there. Those are springbok. Springbok get their name because they are able to spring 6 feet up and 13 feet forward when they are frightened in a jump called the pronk. They are one of the top 10 fastest land mammals, able to reach speeds of 55 miles per hour. At one point, the springbok was critically endangered, but today they are one of the most populated antelope. That gives us hope for reviving species that are on the brink of extinction. To the left, there is the mandrill, which is the largest species of monkey in Africa. The adult male there can weigh up to 100 pounds, while the females weigh 30 to 40. They have red and blue colorations on their face that will get brighter as they get more excited.
He was in
To the right is the African elephant. This is a male. We know because he is by himself. Elephants are typically in herds that consist of a female family and their offspring. The males will go off on their own when they reach maturity at around 13 to 15 years, but sometimes they will form small bachelor herds. The female herd is led by the matriarch, who is the oldest and wisest female of the family. She is so smart that she is able to remember migration routes that the herd has used in years. That is very helpful because elephants have suffered a lot of habitat loss due to the mining of coltan. If you don't know what that is, you probably have some in your pocket. Coltan is the mineral inside of all smartphones, tablets, laptops, and anything that charges. That mineral can pretty much last forever. So make sure that whenever your devices decide to stop working, you recycle them. That way we don't mine any more in the habitats of elephants and gorillas. African elephants had to change their migration patterns to get around mining. And in doing so, they came across farmland and they ended up trampling crops, which angered the farmers. But we were doing research right here on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, and we discovered that since elephants have such sensitive skin, they are afraid of bees. So we told the farmers if you line your farm with beehives, the buzzing would scare them off. That protected elephants from angry farmers, and it also protected crops from elephant food. The farmers were then able to sell the honey that the beehives were making, so it was an all-around win for everyone involved. To the left is a flamboyance of greater flamingos. They are the largest and most pale pink of all flamingo species. When they hatch, they are gray, and as they eat their diet of brine shrimp, they become pink. It can take up to 2 years for their color to fully develop. Some of them are sitting on nests. They make their nests out of dirt and mud by scooping it up with their beaks towards their feet. Their nest can be up to 3 feet tall in order to protect their eggs from any flooded water.
Go over those things.
To the left here is a large mud pit that is a favorite hangout location of the white rhino. They have sensitive skin, so they like to roll around in the mud to cool down. The mud will then act as a natural sunscreen and protect them from bug bites, which protects them from diseases. Unfortunately, the white rhino has been poached in the same way that the black rhino has. And due to poaching, there are only 2 northern white rhinos left. They are a mother and daughter, which means that they are functionally extinct. So we have been studying the southern white rhino here on the reserve to learn more about the way that they reproduce so that the same thing doesn't happen to them. We have been very fortunate to have seen 3 southern white rhinos born here in the last 3 years. On the hill to the left is the cheetah, which is the fastest land mammal. They can go 0 to 60 in just 3 seconds. Running that fast takes up a lot of energy, though they will only do so for a couple hundred yards, using their long tails as a boat-like rudder to change direction while they sprint. They are the only big cat whose claws do not retract, so their claws are out all of the time, and that helps them get a good grip on the ground while they run, kind of like how we use cleats. To the left, this is an ostrich that is the largest bird in the world. They cannot fly, but they are the fastest two-legged animal, able to reach speeds of 43 miles per hour. To the left, these are water bucks. They get their name because they drink significantly more water than any other kind of antelope. Their shaggy coat will emit a smelly oil that helps to waterproof them so that they can stand in the middle of watering holes to protect themselves from predators who do not like to get wet. To the left is a rock formation known as the kopie. Predators like the lion will use the kopie to get a good vantage point over the savanna so that it's easier for them to find their prey. Lions will spend most of their time sleeping. They sleep 16 to 20 hours a day. They will hunt at night because their eyesight is 6 times better at night than it is during the day. During the day, they see just about as well as people. The lioness will initiate most of the hunts for the prize, while the male stays back to protect the territory. They will hunt as a group because that enables them to take down prey that is bigger and faster than an individual lion is. The biggest threat to lions is habitat loss. It causes increased competition between prides for resources like food and territory. It also causes lion-livestock conflicts, as lions will venture onto farms to find food. In Tanzania, they have constructed a living wall, which is a dense grouping of trees, to keep lion populations away from human territory. To the left is the warthog, which is the largest burrowing animal, but they are known to reuse the burrows other animals have made. Warthogs are crepuscular, which means that they are active around sunrise and sunset, but they are very intelligent and they will change their sleeping patterns depending on the predators in the area. To the right are those white rhinos that I had mentioned. They get their name not from their color, but from a mistranslation of the Afrikaans word vite. Vite means wide because they have a wide, square upper lip compared to the black rhino's pointed upper lip. They can weigh up to 5,000 pounds, and they are social in groups called a crash. They can reach charging speeds of 35 miles per hour. We are now coming up to the warden's post, where there are some Nigerian dwarf goats. They are playful, so they like to climb on top of stuff and headbutt each other. Since they are so small, they don't require a lot of resources in order to take care of them. So they are a good example of how humans and animals can live in harmony. Because as the human population increases, we take up more space and become more in contact with wildlife. But by taking care of these things, we don't need a lot of space. We can rely on them instead of wildlife for food and a source of income because they provide a sweet and nutritious milk that can be made into cheese. While a lot of the animals on the Harambe Wildlife Reserve are endangered African species, there are endangered species here in North America as well. Every year, the monarch butterfly will migrate from the forest in Mexico to Canada and back, following the naturally occurring milkweed plants across the country. As milkweed populations are disappearing, monarchs are getting lost and their population is decreasing. You can help them out by planting your garden. It will attract them and give them a safe place to relax and reduce while they migrate. In return, they will help pollinate your garden. We have officially made it out of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, but I will not be dropping you off here. I'm going to take you back to the same place I picked you up at, so just sit tight.